When Victoria Langley walked into the most expensive cafe in Manhattan, everyone turned to look at her. Diamond earrings, designer coat, a bodyguard behind her, a life that looked perfect from the outside. Then she saw the man cleaning tables near the window. Her ex-husband, Ethan Reed, the man she had divorced 10 years ago because she thought he was a failure. Victoria smiled coldly. "Well," she said, loud enough for the room to hear, "I guess some men really do end up exactly where they belong." Ethan did not answer. He only lowered his eyes and kept wiping the table. People stared. Some whispered. Victoria laughed. Then her bodyguard, Marcus, suddenly stepped forward. His face had gone pale. He was not looking at Ethan's old shirt. He was not looking at the mop bucket. He was looking at Ethan's hand, at the ring on his finger. Marcus whispered, "Where did you get that ring?" Ethan froze. Victoria rolled her eyes. "It's probably fake." But Marcus shook his head. "No, ma'am." His voice trembled. "That ring belonged to the man who saved my life in Afghanistan." Victoria's smile disappeared. Ethan slowly looked up, and for the first time in 10 years, Victoria realized the man she had mocked might have been the only man in the room worth respecting. Victoria Langley had built her life around being admired. She liked expensive rooms, quiet waiters, people who opened doors before she reached them. After her divorce from Ethan Reed, she told everyone the same story. She had married for love. She had left for survival. He had no ambition, she would say. A woman cannot spend her life waiting for a man to become someone. People believed her because Victoria was beautiful, rich, and confident. And Ethan disappeared quietly. No public fight, no interviews, no angry messages. He simply signed the papers and walked away with one suitcase. 10 years later, Victoria walked into Café Belmont with her bodyguard Marcus and her assistant carrying shopping bags behind her. She had just closed a business deal worth millions. She was in the mood to celebrate. Then she saw Ethan. He stood near the window, wearing a black apron, clearing cups from a table. His hair had more gray now. His face looked tired. There was a small scar near his eyebrow that had not been there before. For 1 second, Victoria felt something unexpected. Not love, not regret, recognition. Then pride covered it like ice. She walked toward him. "Ethan." He turned. His eyes widened slightly. "Victoria." The way he said her name was calm. Too calm. She looked at his apron. "I almost didn't recognize you." I could say the same. Her assistant looked uncomfortable. Marcus stood behind her, silent. Victoria smiled. "So this is what you do now?" Ethan folded the towel in his hand. "I help where I'm needed." She laughed softly. "That always was your problem. Too humble for your own good." Ethan did not respond. That irritated her more than anger would have. People nearby were listening now. Victoria knew they were listening. So she lifted her chin and said, "I hope life taught you something, Ethan. Love is not enough. A man needs purpose." Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "I found mine." Victoria glanced around the cafe. Cleaning tables? Before Ethan could answer, Marcus moved. Fast. Sudden. He stepped between them and stared at Ethan's right hand. The ring was simple. Dark metal. Scratched at the edges. Not a wedding ring. Marcus's voice changed. "Sir, where did you get that?" Ethan looked down at the ring. His jaw tightened. Victoria sighed. "Marcus, please. Don't tell me you're impressed by cheap jewelry." But Marcus did not even look at her. "That's not jewelry," he said. The cafe became silent. Marcus looked at Ethan again. "Were you with the 3rd Battalion outside Kandahar?" Ethan's face went still. Victoria blinked. "What are you talking about?" Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "I was bleeding out in a field hospital. A man carried me through fire. He had this ring. Black metal. A silver line inside. He told me if I lived, I had to stop wasting my second chance." Ethan looked away. Marcus whispered, "That man was you." Victoria stared at Ethan. The cafe, the money, the mockery, all of it suddenly felt small. Ethan Reed, the man she had called a failure, had been carrying a life she knew nothing about. And the room was no longer looking at him with pity. They were looking at her. Victoria felt heat rise in her face. "Ethan," she said carefully, "you were never in the military." Ethan looked at her. "No, I wasn't." Marcus frowned. "Then how were you there?" Ethan took off the apron and placed it on the chair. "I worked with a rescue organization after the divorce. Medical transport, evacuations, civilian aid, places most people only saw on the news." Victoria's mouth went dry. "You never told me." You never asked what I did after you left. That sentence landed harder than he intended, or maybe exactly as hard as it needed to. Marcus stepped closer. You pulled me out. Ethan nodded once. You were one of 6 that night. Marcus's voice broke. You saved my life. Ethan shook his head. I carried you. The doctors saved you. No, Marcus said. You found me when everyone thought I was gone. Victoria looked at Marcus. Her bodyguard was a strong man. Controlled. Professional. She had never seen him like this. Ethan touched the ring. A friend gave it to me before he died, he said. He told me a man's worth is not measured by what he owns, but by what he protects. Victoria remembered the early years of their marriage. Ethan fixing the neighbor's roof for free. Ethan sitting with her sick mother for hours. Ethan giving away money they barely had because someone else needed it more. She had called it weakness. Maybe it had been strength. Maybe she had been too busy chasing a life that looked impressive to notice the man who actually had a purpose. The cafe owner came from the back. Ethan, he said softly, you don't have to explain yourself here. Victoria turned. You know him? The owner's eyes were cold. Everyone here knows Ethan. He pays meals for veterans who can't afford them. He runs a shelter fund from this cafe. Half the staff are people he helped get back on their feet. Victoria looked around. The waiter near the counter nodded. The young woman at the register wiped her eyes. Even the old man by the window stood and placed a hand over his heart. Victoria felt suddenly overdressed. Not elegant. Exposed. She looked at Ethan. Why are you cleaning tables? He smiled faintly. Because the dishwasher called in sick. A small laugh moved through the room. Not cruel. Warm. Human. Victoria swallowed. For 10 years, she had believed she had risen above him. Now she understood he had been standing somewhere she had never reached. She stepped closer. Ethan, I didn't know. He looked at her gently. No, you didn't. I was wrong. Yes, he said. The honesty hurt. She almost wanted him to soften it. He did not. Marcus removed his own glove and showed a scar across his palm. I've looked for you for years, he said. I wanted to thank you. Ethan reached out and shook his hand. You lived? That was thanks enough. Marcus lowered his head. Victoria watched them, and something inside her broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. A quiet break. The kind that happens when the version of yourself you trusted can no longer survive the truth. She whispered, I made you small because I was afraid your kindness made me look empty. Ethan's expression changed. For the first time, pain entered his eyes. You didn't make me small, Victoria, he said. You just couldn't see me. Victoria left the cafe without ordering. For the first time in years, no one followed her with admiration. Marcus walked beside her in silence. At the door, she turned back. Ethan was helping the young waitress clean a spilled coffee. Still humble, still quiet. But now she saw it differently. He was not a man who had fallen. He was a man who had chosen where to stand. 2 weeks later, Victoria returned to Café Belmont. No assistant. No designer coat. No sharp smile. Only a small envelope in her hand. Ethan was sitting near the window, reading. He looked surprised when she approached. I came to apologize, she said. You already did. No, Victoria whispered. I said I was wrong. That is not the same. She placed the envelope on the table. Inside was a check. Ethan looked at it. What is this? For the shelter fund. No press. No name. No speech. He studied her face. Why? Victoria's eyes filled. Because I spent too much of my life buying things that made me look important. I want to do one thing that actually matters. Ethan did not touch the check at first. Then he nodded. Thank you. Victoria looked at the ring on his hand. Do you ever take it off? Ethan smiled softly. No. Why? He turned the ring slowly. Because it reminds me to protect what is still good in me. Victoria lowered her eyes. I wish I had protected what was good in us. Ethan was quiet. Then he said, so do I. For a moment, the past sat between them. Not asking to return. Only asking to be honored honestly. Victoria wiped one tear. Could we maybe start with coffee? Ethan looked toward the counter. Then back at her. As strangers? She smiled sadly. As people who finally see each other. Ethan stood. This time, Victoria did not look at his apron. She looked at the man. And for the first time in 10 years, she did not see what he lacked. She saw what he had always carried. Courage. Kindness. And a ring that reminded everyone who was paying attention that a person's true worth is often hidden in the one thing the world chooses to mock.